Hey everybody, it's Corey, joined here with Roberto and Rob,
Hey, everybody.
and
Hey, everybody.
we are about to watch what many are calling the most controversial movie of 2020 so far. Rob and I are completely in the dark about it. We don't know anything other than it has to deal with dancers. That's
and
about
then, all the house vrouws in America are
Jesus
super
Christ.
upset about it.
and people who are talking about it. So we'll delve into that as we go, I'm sure. Roberto has done a little bit of reading about the controversy, I guess.
Yeah, okay. So basically, if you guys are not aware of what this movie is or why it's controversial, just to kind of just to kind of keep it short to kind of get you on the loop. So Cuties is actually a French film, Mignonnes. It's actually what it's called in French, directed by Mona de Curé. I think that's how it's pronounced. But basically, this is a film about an 11-year-old Islamic girl who moves to Paris and whose basically whole culture and family tell her to, you have to be like subtle and, dress all covered up and whatnot. But eventually, she meets this group of young dancers who are trying to get popular on social media, and she starts, delving into that side of things. But the whole controversy basically started because people were saying that this movie over sexualizes the characters. What? It's coming from the tab. Yeah, I noticed that too. It's repeating everything we're saying. But yeah, so basically, people were saying that this film was inappropriate. Some even called it child pornography, and there was a whole thing that started with hashtag cancel Netflix. As a matter of fact, Netflix actually saw a spike on people canceling their subscriptions literally the day after the movie was released on Netflix. There was also a big controversy with the poster that they had, which they eventually changed into something, I guess, a little more appropriate. But even the director, according to the stuff that I read, even the director was on the dark. Like at one point, she just started getting messages and death threats at some point because they were saying that she was basically, doing child pornography, which is definitely not the case. A lot of actors, actually, including Tessa Thompson, has been, vocal about what the movie actually is and how bad people are actually taking it. And
All right, well let's leave it there because
okay,
there's plenty of this we can talk about during the course of the movie while we're watching it.
And then
So,
we're gonna have a discussion about the movie
Yeah,
afterwards.
okay,
So,
all right.
let's not get too deep here.
Yeah.
Okay, dips. Okay.
All right, so we have.
Wait, you just okay. Never mind.
Did you want to go through the credits and see if there was anyone you knew from the French film?
No. I forgot that he was doing the play thing, the party.
Oh
So when you closed it, I was like, oh.
no, that was just for us. That was for our monitor situation here.
Yeah.
So I think child porn is an awful big. Like I feel like I've heard a couple people say that. And I don't know where this is coming from per se.
Well, I mean, I can definitely see where some of the people that are complaining about this movie, where they're coming from. But again, it's
No, wait,
You
wait,
can
wait, wait, wait,
see-
back that up. What are you seeing that makes sense?
so there's definitely an aspect of over sexualization of these little children. But then again, if you just look at it through the eyes of like, oh my God, look at what these children are doing, obviously you're going to find something wrong with it. But I can definitely see that that was not the intent. The film was that was not the purpose of it, and that is not what the director set out to do. On the contrary, if anything, it's a what's the word? A commentary on today's youth. Like this is very much a real thing that's going on.
Well,
But obviously, if you just see a poster, or if you just see a little bit of the movie where they're dancing and doing all these things, it's shocking. I'm not gonna lie, it did shock me too. Like I was watching, I was like, oh man, like this. But it's true. It's the reality of things.
So,
it's nothing.
Flash coming in on the Discord, and of course, you can always join any of the live streams that we do. We have a Discord that runs, so you can join us there. And she says, honestly, a super accurate representation. People are just mad 11-year-olds are playing 11-year-olds instead of 16-year-olds playing that age. And I think there's a
Yeah.
kernel of truth there. Like, we would be more comfortable if it was like, all right, that's Selena Gomez. She's 18. She's playing 13. I'm feeling more comfortable about how this movie makes me feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could certainly be a part. I also think that in the minds of people, I guess, who are thinking about, preteen girls or something like that. There's like, I think in people's minds they think like, oh, when they turn 13 is when they start pushing boundaries or something like that. But that's not even like, like I feel like this movie is indicative of how people take in content that they're not necessarily able to process in the way that an adult would. But I remember girls at middle school dances when I was of a similar age, grinding up against people too. Like it wasn't anything different. Everyone wanted to be an adult so bad. And then
and that's the overall statement of all of this.
Yeah.
It's that there are, and again, remember, French director, French film about kids in Paris. We are watching it in the U.S. and it had some controversy in the U.S., but I think in the end it's someone making commentary about French society, and they're saying this is exactly the problem, that kids want to be adults. And you may think, oh, well, when they're 15, or our parents may think, when you're 15 and 16, you start pushing boundaries and trying to be an adult. And we may think, oh, well, when you're 13, you start pushing boundaries and trying to be an adult. But that changes every generation. And there was likely generations before where it was earlier. Like Auntie says in there, when I was your age, I was about to get married.
Yeah, that's actually the fact that she brought that up. Like a lot of people probably watch that and they're like, oh, well, it's just like passes through, but it's actually a really
what she was describing. She was describing that the day she was engaged while she was a child.
Yeah.
The day she got her period, she also got married. Because
delivered.
The guy was not allowed to marry her until she was fully a woman.
Yeah.
So the day she had her period, they cleaned her, they wrapped her up and delivered her to her husband and said, hey, she's yours now. So and going back to what you said at the beginning, yeah, I think it's a commentary about the sexualization of young women, but that is not what this movie is doing.
Yeah.
That is what society is doing. Society is causing society is sexualizing younger and younger girls, and it's causing the sexualization of younger and younger girls. But that's not this movie's fault. This movie is a commentary on the fact that that's happening.
No,
I think here's the thing, though. I think that if this movie was 4 20-year-old girls who are in college and going to do the dance thing, then nobody would have a fucking word to say about anything that happened.
That movie exists. Bring it on again.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, there's a version of this movie where it's done by adults and nobody bats an eye because
but
it's adult thing. It's adults doing adult things. But part of what the commentary of this movie is that these kids don't know better. That's part of the problem with kids is like you take things in and you don't necessarily know what it means or like what the consequences of these things are. That's why she does things. She steals.
Yeah.
She doesn't recognize the consequence of what she's doing because she needs the immediate response of being able to get the thing that she wants. She wants the phone. She's going to take it. She's not going to think about the consequences. And now this is when she loses it, when he comes back and takes it back from her, she's like, oh, I gotta make the most of it.
Yeah, big right now. And I mean, the little boy with the pen, no thinking about consequences, just he's embarrassing me right now, so I'm gonna grab a pen and stab him in the top of the hand. And we are basically telling these kids to act more adult like, or then judging them for acting more adult like. It's something I continue to I joke about, but is less than funny. But at 18, I started down the path of taking loans for which I will be paying the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I was in high school. I had to ask someone's permission to go to the bathroom, but there was a recruiter for all 5 branches of the military in the lunchroom where I could have signed up for 4 years to go and die.
Yeah.
But I got to go ask you if I can go to the bathroom. And then I can sign a loan document that is going to put me $50,000 in debt instantaneously. Like, we live in a society that says we have this duplicity of we want you to act more grown up. And how many, I can't say for sure because I don't know any or very many or maybe any 11 or 12-year-olds now. But I remember being 12 and like having a little temper tantrum and having my parents be like, you got to act more mature. You need to stop this and act more mature. But then we also look at this and say, stop acting so mature.
I also wonder if any of the people who are having outrage about this and the cancel cuties aspect of this whole thing is aware of what's going on
Cancel
TikTok
Netflix
right now.
Is the
Cancel Netflix. Yeah, but I mean,
the
like,
hashtag.
but I'm saying, like, you know, I could go on TikTok right now and I could be watching through videos and everything is kosher. It's just normal everyday adult things.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you see somebody and you're just like, how old is this girl dressing like or dancing like that?
9.
Yeah,
9,
and then
10.
you say to yourself, I have no interest in watching this anymore, and you get rid of it. But at the same time, there's nothing legally that like TikTok could do to stop that girl from doing, you know, as long as she's not doing something that is in blatant violation of the rules,
Yep.
like nudity or something like that.
I was gonna say, and it's something directly sexual.
Right. But I'm saying, like, you know, if she's just sitting there, you know, just twerking or something like that, there's not really anything that, like,
Well,
TikTok, you know, because that's not illegal. It's like,
I think that's also kind of part of what people are having problems with is the fact that it's a reality, and this is happening out there. Like you were saying when we were watching the movie, right now out there's 11-year-old girls twerking somewhere,
Yeah.
trying to learn how to twerk somewhere
On TikTok right
but
now.
but the fact that you watch it, you know, it's on Netflix and you can watch it. Anyone can watch it, really. I feel like a lot of people are having a hard time with facing that reality of like, well, I don't want to see that. Why would I want to see little girls dancing? Where you can just go to TikTok and probably find something like that. So where you get all
I could
these-
I could find way worse on TikTok right now. if I
yeah,
just opened
and that's
it
what I'm
up.
saying. Like when people are complaining about like, oh my God, I gotta cancel my subscription, or I gotta, you know, cancel Netflix because they were willing to put this out there. But you're not looking at the big picture here. Like you're not looking at everything else out there that allows 11-year-old girls to dance and show themselves like that, you know, portray themselves like that. But one thing that you mentioned that I think it's an interesting question. You made the comment about this being a French film.
Mhm.
Do you guys think that this film could get made in America right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
An American director, American actor,
Yes.
11-year-old, because
Yes.
11-year-old actresses.
Yes.
I think it would be tougher because they would try and find any sort of way they could to get older people who play younger to be in the movie, just because with the way that it works in America with child actors is I think if you're 11,
You can only work like 4 hours a day.
yeah,
right?
4 hours a day, and you have to have school for the rest of the day and stuff like that, and it's got to be broken up. So like just the process of being able to shoot a movie like this in America would require you to have like double the amount of days you probably would be able to get away with in France.
Here's the thing, though. In France, they had to make it a fictional movie. You could make a documentary in the United States about this.
Yeah.
Because part of my argument that I continue to get into with people on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere is this is a thing in the United States. Competitive dance teams that do a mixture of jazz and urban dancing and ballet and everything, just street dancing, and they go as young as 9. So there is a show called P-Valley on HBO or Showtime, one or the other, and one of the girls is a stripper. She works at a strip club, but she wants to quit working as a stripper and start being a coach and a teacher, and she has 4 teams: 9 to 12, 13 to 15, 15 and 16, and 17 to 18, basically. And like a whole storyline about her trying to get a studio because right now they practice outside. But essentially, all 4 of them are doing the same routine or versions of the same routine. There is 9 to 12-year-olds doing that kind of routine. And that's a fictionalized version, but this is a real thing that happens. Competitive dance teams that are doing these kind of dances.
But see, one of the reasons why I bring up the question is we already have politicians that have gotten involved with this issue. There was what's her name that I mispronounced earlier?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, who literally posted a tweet saying that Netflix is now complicit to child pornography and child.
See, but
But wait,
for-
but what I'm saying is the reason why I asked the question: could this be made in America? Do you really think that there could be an American version of Cuties? And then all of a sudden it gets to Netflix,
See, but-
and American politicians or the government or whoever. I mean, there's already Facebook groups
hold on.
that are against the movie and against what Netflix and them putting this out there.
Nothing that was in this movie was illegal.
No.
My worst fear throughout this entire thing was that I was going to there was the one moment where he's like, "Give me my phone back," and
Oh,
she
yeah.
starts undoing the shirt and
Oh.
stuff like that. And I was just like, I wonder if we're going to get something horribly illegal happening right here. At which point I would have been very uncomfortable with the movie. But the fact that she made the move, she was just like, hey, this is yours if you want it. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
Hey, kid,
yeah,
get out
like,
of here.
I don't
What
want-
are you doing?
I don't want anything to do with this. Sort of institutes like the idea that like, you know, this isn't meant to be some like literally nothing about this movie. You could argue about like how much you would be able to work the child actors in America.
Yeah.
But nothing about this movie is not. You could get parents to sign off on all this, and it's legal. Like there was nothing.
The worst part was in the bathroom right after that. But essentially, it's just like, all right, so we're gonna put you.
But
in
you
three
don't
pairs,
see anything.
We're gonna put you in 3 pairs of pants. Pull down the outer layer, keep it up above your knees.
And
take a picture
they
of it.
probably did.
That's
They
exactly
probably.
what they did.
I mean,
Yeah.
like you know, like you just can't. You know, just like you would have a love scene, like you know, the people are naked, but
Yeah.
you're really just wearing a sock.
Yeah.
Like.
I mean, that's
you know.
uncomfortable enough. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but I'm
Right.
saying like you know, there's reasons that things are done in a certain way, and it's to make sure people feel as comfortable as humanly possible in a situation that might not be comfortable. So if you're in a love scene with somebody, it could be very uncomfortable for both of you to be completely naked in that situation.
Yeah.
So if you do feel uncomfortable, we have certain things that we can do. If we need to reshoot the whole scene so that you know you're covered up with the bedspread,
Yeah.
and you're wearing shorts underneath, then we can do that if we need to. But you know, like
Unless
you know,
you're shooting-
obviously you're trying to push things too to get like we have a sexy scene in this movie.
unless you're shooting Brown Bunny or Buffalo.
Well,
66.
yeah, I mean,
Okay,
like
well-
obviously,
Well, now that you mentioned,
if you're Vincent Gallo, it's a whole different.
now that you talk about, you just mentioned about.
I don't think
pushing-
Vincent Gallo would be allowed to make this movie. How
No,
about that?
absolutely not.
You just mentioned pushing boundaries. So
But wait,
thinking
wait,
about
wait,
it,
wait, because I don't want to skip over this though. American politicians are jumping into the discussion and saying, you know, Netflix, you are pushing child pornography, but you don't
And
get to have it.
human trafficking.
And human trafficking. Politicians don't get to have it both ways though, because the ones you're hearing from the most and the loudest are Republican politicians who are all.
And Tulsi, who's basically a Republican.
Well,
at
yeah,
this
I
point.
was going to say, and some Democrats who are dinos, Democrats in name only. And these are folks who are very free market, very capitalist, and very like, no. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, you should be able to do it. Okay. Well, the reason that Victoria's Secret sells junior sizes that would fit girls like this is because of the free market. Because we as a society have created a demand, therefore they are just supplying the demand we've created. The reason that Forever 21 has less than junior sizes, like 8, 9, 10-year-old sizes. Are you hearing? Are you hearing the air conditioner?
No, it was not that. Like all of a sudden, your sound sounded
Oh.
different.
All I'm saying is
Don't worry about it so much because I'll let you know if something's wrong.
yes, we as a society have created demand, and all of these people who are like, you are complicit. Like, no, wait. Let's say this was exactly what you're saying it was. Then Netflix is merely doing what you say is absolutely okay, and that's giving a supply to the demand. It's not that. It's not that at all. And they're trying to put blame on. Listen, if we observe a car crash, you can't have someone walk in the apartment and then say, Roberto, why didn't you do anything about the car crash? You are just an observer
Well,
of what's happening outside.
not only that, I still remember when. So probably when I was really about this age is when South Park started.
Yeah.
And there were people who were saying like, you can't wear South Park T-shirts to school. You can't talk about South Park. It's not appropriate for kids. And I watch South Park all the time. Like
Yeah.
nobody stopped me. But you know, was it inappropriate? Sure, I guess a little bit, but it didn't feel any more inappropriate than things I was already aware of. Like nothing happened in that cartoon that I didn't have some sort of like knowledge of at that age. And like the reasons why they would say like, you know, oh, there's a child who gets murdered in every episode. And I'm just like, if you watch it, if
Yeah.
you watch Kenny die every episode, you say to yourself, oh, that's a joke. He clearly gets killed in more elaborate ways every single way because, but you know, like if you watch the news back then, they were just like, in one of these episodes, a child was killed in a wood chipper. In another, he was thrown in the air and impaled on an American flag. Like, and you know, it sounds really bad when you say it, but when you watch the show, you're just like, no, this is just the new levels that this show, which is built off of, you know, shock value.
but at one
But
point,
nothing about this was shocking. I mean, like nothing about this was
And
anywhere close to that line.
For my parents, it wasn't even Kenny's repeated death. It was almost like
cursing.
No. Cursing is fine because again, there's nothing on South Park you couldn't see on the regular news or
Yeah, it wasn't
anywhere on
until they
TV.
said shit like 187 times
Yeah.
in one episode.
Which was also allowed because NYPD Blue did it first. They
Yeah.
made a joke about that too. But like, the whole point of it was it's social commentary in a way that he can comprehend. We don't want that. It's almost like we don't want you to see the world for what it really is. We would prefer you to have the newscaster saying like you're not safe, and I'm going to explain to you why, but you're never going to really understand. But when South Park is explaining human trafficking
Yeah.
and making a joke of it and being like, we're joking about it because we as a society have treated it like a joke because we're not doing anything to do anything about it. And pointing out that it shouldn't be funny, but you're laughing, and maybe that you should wonder, why are you laughing at it? That's what my parents didn't want. They didn't want you to ask those questions.
I don't really think that this movie, I mean, like,
I mean, it pushed some boundaries, but not.
Wait, what? What boundaries did it push?
Okay, so I'm just
I
trying,
mean,
I'm just
I
trying to
feel-
get on
I
the
feel like-
mindset.
I feel like if you're watching this movie, so the only thing to me that you could argue was anywhere close to like objectionable or problematic is that from time to time when they were doing dance scenes, they kind of like zoom in on
yeah, I thought
them
about
shaking butts or something like
Yeah.
that. Which is more it to me read more like how you shoot music videos than
And
how
For me,
Like-
that's what I see of it. I see commentary on the fact that you are
This is-
training. This is what we want.
Yeah, they watch the music videos and they think this is what it is, and now we're showing it to you in a way that feels
That makes you
indicative of that.
uncomfortable,
Yeah,
yeah.
to make you think like that.
And it should make people uncomfortable because you know, and not that I want to make this like a whole spiel about the commodification of women's bodies, but it should make you feel bad that they are essentially commodifying a 11-year-old's body that way, but you don't feel bad that Tekashi 6ix9ine or Drake or
Any rapper.
any rapper is essentially treating a woman, a grown woman, in
Yeah.
the same way as something that is just a watch or a car. It's something that's in his video that shows how awesome he is, but we're okay with that. And this is a way of saying you shouldn't be okay with one if you're not okay with the other.
Which
Well,
yeah,
and,
which
and
you
the,
shouldn't.
And
but
the objectification is something that is not clear necessarily to the girls because
Yeah.
they don't know how to operate under this. So she takes a picture of herself like that. Clearly, she doesn't know. She doesn't understand the consequences of what she's done. And, maybe she thinks that, like, this is disposable or something like that, or it won't be remembered, or she just doesn't get it the way that an adult would.
Sorry,
You know?
we just had a couple comments. I want to make sure we get to them.
Okay.
So Bryn is joining us on YouTube, and she makes a very interesting point, which I've made in some chats as well. How old are the Dance Mom kids? They would totally accept roles like that, and that's interesting one because yes, Dance Moms being a documentary, I don't think documentaries follow by the same rules as a fictional movie because it's like we're just recording you while you're doing the thing.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing.
She's just doing what she would be doing under normal
Yeah,
circumstances.
if you're in practice for 12 hours and we record you for 12 hours, that's 12 hours of filming and it doesn't count. So that's why I think the documentary would be more likely what we'd have. But how about the point that Dance Moms was on TV for 8 years and there were 8, 10, 12, 14-year-old girls
younger
doing
than that.
doing this stuff on Dance Moms and no one said anything. But the show is theoretically about Abby, the coach. But having seen a few of those episodes, being forced to watch that from somebody, I'm sure, I can tell you that the half the episode is the girls themselves dancing or the girls themselves being interviewed. It's not really about Abby. It's her relationship with the girls, and that inevitably involves the girls.
Yeah, but I mean, like, to your point of like objectification of women and stuff like that. Like, are you capable of going to the beach and having a conversation with a woman who's happening to wear a bikini?
Absolutely.
Because like, if you can separate yourself from, this woman's in some state of undress, I have to sexualize her,
Yeah.
to understanding that this is a context. We are in a place where this is appropriate. Like, you're not supposed to be looking at women and just going like mine, or
Well,
anything like that.
right.
See,
Like,
but the problem here is I feel like we're making a lot of comments, a lot of very valid points, but we're still missing the fact that the people that are complaining about this, the people that are against this, are people that are solely looking at this as these are 11-year-old girls and you shouldn't do that with them. Now, I get the points that we're trying to make. But
No, but I mean, I think it's all one the same though, because we're saying you are putting blinders onto the society around you and trying to focus on this. I mentioned earlier the spaghetti straps on middle school girls. That started in middle school, where it's like girls can't wear spaghetti straps because they distract boys. No one looked at the boys and said, "Why are you staring at the girls?"
Why can't you control yourself?
Yeah, if you can't control yourself, I'm going to take you out of the classroom. Not I'm going to send the girl home or go
And-
make her put on a sweater.
And the lack of male control to me is more of the problem than the woman, and that's the whole thing here. That's the whole ball of wax, because again, nothing that they did during any dance portions of this movie were anything that you'd want to talk to the parents ahead of time and say, is it okay if we have your child in this movie and they're doing these things? But every single one of those conversations probably went with the actors where they said, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
You are too young to understand the consequences of what you're doing. So we are going to walk a very delicate line here where you get to play as a character, somebody who is unaware, but we are going to tell you what you're doing so you know. Because that would be part of the conversation that happens as well. You can't.
yeah, you just don't bring
You
the
don't-
girls and here,
I mean,
learn
there's a-
this dance.
There's a
and,
script, so at some point there's a conversation that happens beforehand where you say, much the same as, as somebody said, are you comfortable doing a stunt in this movie?
Yeah.
Are you, we figured out how you can do it safe. Are you comfortable jumping from one motorcycle to the other? And it's just like, if you're not, we got a stunt double for that.
Yeah.
If any of these girls, during the audition process, were just like, are you okay dancing for a dance competition in these various ways?
Provocative way, yeah.
provocative.
And they said, no, I wouldn't be comfortable with. Well, then we'll find another actress.
Yeah,
to
it's
do
not
it.
going to be for you. But I mean, again, I think that the going back to the society and the way that we are looking at people, the lack of control. I again, the conversations I've been having with the Hausfraus of America on social media, I want to make the argument to them of like, if someone told you, no, you're not allowed to go to school. Boys go to school. You learn the home and only the home. And if you are any color other than white and any religion other than Christian, you don't get to advance in society. They would all be very upset. But I think the way that they're reacting to this movie is essentially the same. It's trying to enforce a gender role and a worldview that they don't even believe in, but they think for some reason still exists. And I don't understand it. That's where I can't make that leap.
I also think, just speaking to the point of if there was an American version of this movie,
Right.
The American version of this movie is with the
Probably,
hardcore Christians,
yeah.
the
Fundamentalists.
super strict Christians. And I do believe that there's a part of this story that works because it's Muslims, and there's sort of I can take a second wife aspect of this. At least
Mormons? How about fundamentalist
yeah,
Mormons?
I mean, that would work too in sense of that. But I mean, the idea being that by the end of the movie, when she's jumping rope, she's having a childlike moment.
Yeah.
But, it's also, she split between the difference between her in her provocative outfit and her in her, Muslim outfit.
Yeah.
And now she is somewhere in between. She's balancing between who she was, who she's going to be, all these sort of different parts. It's about finding yourself. Sometimes you do things that push too far.
Yeah, you
and
make
then
mistakes sometimes.
You realize you've made a mistake and I don't like this, or I don't want to do this anymore. And then,
but that goes back to the whole thing of we tell you, we want you to, everything that her family was doing. All right, you're a woman now. We need you to step up and take responsibilities. You're an adult. Be mature. The example they have is chopping onions and helping us get up early and prep food and stuff. And we want you to be an adult. No, not like that.
yeah.
And I mean, again, not to make it a societal commentary, but essentially that's what we do for everything. We want you to be more mature, but only in the ways that we tell you to be more mature. And if you try to do it a different way, well, then we're going to chastise you and we're going to put you. You're 17 years old. You can sign your life away to go die in Iraq for 4 years of risking your life in Iraq. But when you finish signing and you go back to class, you have to ask a grown man. A grown man at 18, had to ask another grown man if I could go pee. That does not and we have to come to some conclusion as a society to say, either we're going to say children should be children, and by the way, children should be allowed to be children. That is the whole thing. I agree that we should protect them more.
When the mother finds out, she gets really upset with her. She's beating her essentially.
Yes, yeah.
In the way that I think all of us
Well,
have
the
kind of gotten beaten at some point or another. Yeah, the auntie.
No, the mom had
that's only
the
about
auntie separated it though.
That's the only about the nude picture that she posted. But when she sees
and the
her,
stabbing the boy and stuff like that.
No, that's right. It was the stabbing the boy. It wasn't even the nude picture. It was the stabbing the boy. But when she sees her in the like, hey, you look exactly like every other girl in this building, she acts very calmly, and she's like, I get it. This is who you.
Well,
are
I mean,
be.
like, there's a like, so go back to the very beginning when we find out that the husband is taking a new wife, a second wife.
Right.
The child is very upset. The mother is upset at first, and then the second phone call, like when the call reconnects, and she's laughing and being like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, this is how I'm supposed to feel. I'm supposed to be okay with this because my husband, who is the one who decides everything, is choosing to take a new wife, and I just have to go along with it, and she doesn't comprehend like how like you could be abandoned at this moment. The child doesn't understand how you could be abandoned at this moment.
And reacts in a childlike way.
And at the end, mom probably sees her in the outfit and sort of says like,
well,
I know I had to push too.
Yep.
I know I had to try and do my own thing, and I wish I could be that. And, you're just doing that now. And
it's a phase.
I'm not going to, she's not going to beat her on that one because
What
she didn't stab a kid.
What you were saying earlier, a lot of the Hausfraus are seeing the poster. They're saying, cancel Netflix, cancel Cuties. We're not going to watch this thing. And again, I've been in a lot of conversations with people about just the poster.
Yeah, that's actually what I was gonna try and transition. I think we've made our points very clear, but I think we should talk about the fact that basically Netflix saw a surge in cancellations, a 30% surge in cancellations, which they haven't had in years. Literally the day after the movie came out.
We don't know if that's actual cancellation. So
that's what basically what I read was that there are sources out there who are doing the analytics on Facebook, right?
There's 30% of cancellations, but business projections are they'll be down about 9%.
Yeah,
in a quarter, which is the first time they'll be down ever.
Right, but I'm saying like when we get the end of the quarter is when we'll find out where the subscriber numbers went, stuff like that.
They had people who unsubscribed, but there's also people who are saying like, oh, they unsubscribed, but then they're gonna go like, oh, well, what am I gonna watch? Oh, I'm gonna resubscribe to Netflix.
Yeah, but the point that I'm trying to make is that there was definitely a point trying to be made by a lot of people out there.
Yeah, the
like
dumb Hausfraus. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the fact that a lot of people, I guarantee you, a lot of the people that either cancel or unsubscribe or whatever, or they're just trashing the whole thing, probably haven't seen it.
No, 100% they haven't.
Yeah, no, they probably saw the poster, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about is the fact that.
Well, and anybody who tells you, like, here's the other problem is I think there's dark pockets of the internet that have invaded Facebook like you've never believed.
Yeah.
Where they talk about pedophilia like it's around every single street corner.
Absolutely.
And while pedophilia is a problem, and while there are certainly pedophiles out there, and we should be doing more to stop it, this is not a movie about pedophilia or anything related to it. And if you are watching it and have a problem with it, then maybe the problem is you.
Yes. Yeah. I said I wanted to mention the social dilemma aspect of all of it. And
social dilemma.
You guys have seen Social Dilemma now.
Mm-hmm.
We watched it last night.
Yeah. If you guys at home haven't seen it, essentially, Social Dilemma is a series of interviews with some interspersed documentary film that just basically says your most basic human, your reward system in your brain that has advanced us from our ancestor long ago that realized there is better fruit on that tree. I need to go from this tree to that tree, and there'll be no competition there. The same drive is in your brain right now, and we haven't evolved that much in 800,000 years. And the social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, have decided or have figured out how to tap into that reward system and are doing the very same thing. And because they are going to your most primal instincts, it is so hard to defeat. And the funny thing is, a lot of the guys and girls who were on it were saying, would answer the question, will you let your children be on social media? With a no, because I developed this thing. I know how it works, and I can't put it down. I would never let my kids do it.
Not only that, but I mean, like, so I feel like there's a part of this where it is, we are all striving to do this, like, to be the most beautiful, to be the best at whatever, right? I recorded the song, the John Mayer song, right? I have not been practicing my singing on a regular basis, so I was not singing at my best, and I hear myself, and I'm instantly comparing myself to John Mayer, who is not only a practiced singer, but a very good one at that.
Yes.
So when I hear the differences between me and him,
he also has a producer whose only job is making John Mayer sound good.
Yeah, and somebody who has spent many years learning what they're doing. I like to be a part of these.
I'm not a good producer?
No, I was talking more about myself, because
I mean,
it goes
Rob's
into
learning.
mastering. Yeah.
Rob's learning. So I mean, he needs to have a certain number of, like, us fucking around projects before he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
There's no point in saying,
before
like,
all
hey,
of a sudden
Takashi,
we sound just like Michael Bublé.
Hey, Takashi, I'll be your producer. Come to my
that ain't gonna help your projects, I don't think.
The thing is, though, that there's just within all of us, there's these things where I don't rate to this other person, and social media more than anything else has pushed this on people. And if you don't think that 11-year-old girls who are just on the verge of being able to become women in some sort of way, whether that's physical or whether it's
mental,
or any other way, like there's a point when you're right about to become an adult or become grown in some sort of way, and you just want it to happen, and you're thriving for this moment. And I'm sure there's a lot of girls out there who are 11 years old and wearing more adult clothes because it makes them feel like they're more adult now, like they should be taken more seriously. But to them, adult doesn't necessarily mean, like, you know, a pantsuit. It means I get to wear something that a 20-year-old would wear.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Well, I think it's multifaceted, though. So I brought up a social dilemma for 3 reasons, really. One, that these girls in the movie, and I would assume girls in real life, are driven by social media. But also that, one, the cover that was chosen by Netflix, I guarantee you, was seen by no less than 1,000 people, all of whom approved it. It was run through who knows how many test groups, and that was the one that triggered in a good way the best response. And so that's the one that they went with.
It's the one that's most likely to make you click. That's the whole ball of wax right there.
But what they didn't do is to run it in conjunction with the third point, which is half of us are in a echo chamber in Facebook and Twitter that is feeding us these stories about there are pedophiles literally next door. They are circling your neighborhood in white vans, just waiting to grab your children and throw them in the back and take them away from you, and you'll never see them again, and traffic them across the entire world. Which
taken.
Well, no, because that wasn't.
I know.
That was a grown woman. But
I don't know who you are.
The whole thing is that, like, yes, there are pedophiles in the world. That is a thing. Yes, there is sex trafficking and human trafficking. These are all real things. But generally speaking, it has never been safer, especially to be an American, and especially to live in the suburbs, and especially to be, honestly, most of the people I'm seeing, white. To be a white person who lives in the suburbs has never been safer, but they're in this echo chamber where they feel like it's happening everywhere and all the time, because the things you're interacting with are the reward system on social media is just feeding you more of that stuff.
I think it would be interesting.
So I really, sorry, to that point, I do think that there's something really interesting there, because much the same as the kids get sucked into this world of I need to be older, I need to dance like this, I need to be more sexualized, I need to do whatever. A similar type of thing is happening to adults on social media who are taking in just news that they aren't checking or fact checking or looking into at all and saying, oh my God, there's pedophiles everywhere. And if you're under the impression that around every corner is a pedophile ready to take your kid, like,
who's waiting for a movie like this just to sit at home and work themselves up to come grab your kid on the street.
Well, I mean, like, you remember when gang violence was a real big deal and everyone was talking about the Bloods and the Crips, and in reality, there was maybe a dozen Bloods or Crips in any given town. You know, like
South Central LA, real problem.
Upwards of 50 people involved. Like,
Denton, Maryland,
Yeah.
not a problem. Even though
Well,
my
yeah, but-
parents were super worried about it.
but I'm saying like the how much you would hear about it, it would make you think that literally 1 out of every 10 people were a member of Bloods or Crips for a while.
Yes.
Like it was
Yeah.
so rampant. It was everywhere. And the rappers are starting to wear their red and their blue to associate with the, like, yes, there was like a street lifestyle thing going on there, but I mean, like, it was like,
there was
this
kids-
is not as big of a problem as you fucking think.
There were kids in my high school that were gang affiliated.
Yeah.
They were Crips and they were Bloods and they wore red and blue and had nothing to do with the national gangs. It
Right.
was it was as if we had the Orioles and the Nationals. It's just we're picking two teams and we're tough and we're going to fight each other. These groups were always going to fight each other. They just picked two teams to be on the opposite sides of it.
Right.
But so I wanted to read this as an example. I'm not going to say who it was, but I am going to paraphrase a conversation I had with a Hausfrau who described why she wasn't going to watch the movie. The poster itself, this is her describing the poster. It encourages sex at a young age, and pedophiles get off on shit like that. That poster that promoted the show was disgusting. The girls were posed in overly provocative ways, squatting, blah, 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 describing the poster. I'm sure that the peds will use that to whack off to. It looked like the front of a porn mag. Now, I don't believe that the poster for Cuties looks like the front of a porn mag. And during the course of then what turned out to be a 2-hour-long interrogation, I'll say interrogation, I was asking questions and trying to elicit a response from her. I realized that she did not realize that it was about a dance competition. She said, sorry, let me find it. Doubtful. I have watched dance competitions. I have done hip hop, modern, jazz, etc. And not one of the dances I learned had me on all fours with my ass in the air. And then she sent me a link after a long pause to a story that is captioned, "The worst scene in Cuties. I'm disgusted. #cancel Netflix." I do know. It's right there in your face. And then I basically responded to her by saying, you literally just looked up that story and read it. You have no idea
what was
it is.
the worst scene that they
Um,
specified
It
there?
was the dancing.
It's the dance scene at the end,
Yeah, well,
which is arguably, yes, the most provocative scene is the one of them dancing.
but it's also showing the audience not reacting well to it.
Yes.
I mean, like, that's, to me, like,
I guarantee you the video, though, that's in that story does not have the parents not reacting.
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. It's just
literally
it's just a
the scene.
clip of them just awkwardly sexually dancing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and then what I said is I just want to read this because you guys know I'm consistent in all aspects of my life. The story you just looked up, it takes the scenes out of context to rile up the Hausfraus who don't educate themselves on the subject matter. Again, you've lost the right to an opinion on this. Go look into dance cheer competitions, look at non-Mignonnes scenes and videos. After a while, you can come back and we can discuss. And then she just blew up and said, you pissed me off. Anyone who has different opinions that are different than you think are wrong and lost the right to opinions. You're not always right. So that is true. Well, I won't concede that I'm not always right. I generally am right. But I will say that I do jump to if you're wrong, you've lost your right to an opinion. That's often because I require and I'm surrounded by people who educate themselves and then make strong opinions, which may or may not be concisive with my own. So Corey may think that that dibs requires you to know exactly the thing that is being called dibs.
You
on.
don't want to get into this one. I will. I was passionately angry at Roberto earlier.
But because you can put on a strong defense for your position, and it's not based on the fact of like, this is what I believe and you need to accept it. No, it's like, here are the rules by which I live my life, and this is what we're going to do. That's different than what all of the Hausfraus and how they are responding to this, because essentially they are saying, I saw the poster, it made me uncomfortable, we need to cancel Netflix.
I just wonder if any, like there's a part of seeing the poster, the foreign poster for Cuties and the Netflix poster, where I almost think back to Entourage and Billy Walsh, like seeing the changed up Queens Boulevard poster where it's all like popified and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
He
like,
hates
oh,
it.
you bastards fucking ruined my movie. Like, there's a part of this where I feel like, like the director probably saw this and was just like, what the fuck? Like,
she did. No, she actually, she literally
you know,
said,
it probably actually helped. No lie, like the controversy over the poster is almost like risen to the level where people feel like they either need to see this or tweet about it. And if they're talking about it in any way, shape, or form, it's sort of helpful for the movie.
What was
So-
that movie that we watched that the production company dropped out at the last minute and they had to like push the opening? The one about them hunting.
The Hunt.
The Hunt.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
Where that's exactly what happened. Like probably would have opened it to like $10 million. They push it 6 weeks and then it opens to $100 million because
Yeah.
everybody's talking about it. But I mean, in this case though, my concern is the people who won't see it will continue to say it's child pornography when it's the entire message of the movie is the exact opposite of that. It's a commentary on how we are sexualizing kids.
It's
And-
like in
I
a different way. It's like when the Christian right was boycotting Dogma, the Kevin
Right.
Smith movie. It's like, number one, this is a comedy, so like a lot of these things are just in the purpose of a joke.
Yeah.
Number two, I think this movie speaks more to one's self of spirituality more than almost any other I've seen. Like, I feel like
God
I
is
thought-
real in that movie. God
I
comes
thought-
down.
I thought more about what Catholicism meant to me after that movie than I would probably after like Passion of the Christ or something like
Yeah.
that. And people just wanted to be like. Sometimes people just want to be angry about shit, and
That's true.
they just get caught up in this like echo chamber of like, you shouldn't watch this movie. Here's all the worst stuff about it. Like,
I think also the fact that the movie for me felt a lot of like a commentary about social media as well, because we
Yeah.
see, we got all the scenes where she's looking at the videos of the other dance crews, and she's looking at videos of like rappers or whatever, where they're like focusing on certain regions, whatever. But I feel like a lot of people who won't watch the movie and won't really get the point of what the commentary that they're trying to make, they don't realize that, okay, like if you watch it and you see where all these ideas are coming from, where this over sexualization, what they're getting their inspiration from, so to speak. And that's the problem here, that you're not aware of where the actual problem. It's not about the dance competition. It's about what they, as little kids who, as we mentioned before, like they don't really know or understand what they're doing or what the proper thing to do is. They're just reacting to what they're seeing and what they're living.
I think though you're giving people reasons not to watch it though. Because
No. On the contrary,
wait. Because what you're saying is this is going to make you ask questions about yourself. And this Hausfrau that I was talking to and other Hausfraus that I've talked to absolutely refuse to do that. My worldview is 100% correct. Nothing will ever change that. If you disagree with it, you're wrong. And if you offer me evidence, actual physical, factual evidence that is to the contrary, then I will refuse to believe it and push you off.
See, okay, but here's another thing. So there seems to be a lot about the rules of what men and women are traditionally allowed to get away with here too, because I feel like if I had a daughter or something like that, and she was 11,
God help us all.
and she wanted to dance like this, I would have to have a conversation with her first, going like, "A, be careful where you post said dances, because there are people who will take this out of context."
but you would let her dance.
If she wanted to dance in her own room and like do that thing, then that's fine, If I sat down and explained to her how, like she is doing something that is based off of sexual innuendo, and like she understood this and understood why it could be problematic if she did it in front of people, like if she was at a dance competition, like why she wouldn't necessarily understand like how people are reacting to it. Like it's all about the conversation you have to have with kids to explain to them at times when it's appropriate why these things are the way they are.
I mean, feel like a lot of people either don't want to have that conversation, or they don't know how to have that conversation.
Oh, 100% they don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's clear. But I'm saying like this is no different to me in my mind than people who are just like, to a full grown woman, like, "Oh, you can't leave the house dressed like that." It's just like, well, no, I'm an adult. I can dress any way I want.
Yes.
You can't tell me otherwise.
Something might happen to you. That's a society problem. Why
Yeah,
aren't
that's
we
not a
looking
me
at that?
problem. That-
Let's
Yeah.
fix that part of it.
But like
And we
you know,
fix
like
that,
as,
by the way, by getting the boys when they're younger and saying, "Hey, stop being distracted by the little girl. Focus on what you're doing."
but I mean, like if I, as a man, if I go out wearing yoga pants and a tank top, like
Ugh.
it's not my problem. You know, like nobody's. Yeah, somebody might
It's
have
everybody's
that reaction.
problem.
Somebody might have that reaction, but I'm saying like nobody's saying like like cover it up, kids are looking or anything like that.
While you were
And I mean, like in a similar regard with kids, like they're just more. They don't know anything. Their experience is based off of what you're able to fill in, because you see something you don't get it. Like, why is that dog lifting its leg? Oh, you've never seen that before. It's going to the bathroom.
Mhm.
But when I go to the bathroom, I do this, and it's like no. It's different for different things. Now you know this. You know, like
maybe after a couple of times, because I'm pretty sure Max would try to lift his leg a few times before he gets it.
But you would see where that kid would get that
Yeah.
from. Like you'd be like, oh, okay, he saw the dog. Now he's rationalizing that he has to do it like that because that's how dogs do it.
I'm also a boy.
We have to teach him that
Yeah.
this is different in some sort of way. You know,
I was gonna say earlier when we were talking about social dilemma, I was gonna say I think it'd be kind of interesting to look up the Facebook groups because there are Facebook groups out
There
there
are.
already about how Cuties is the worst thing that's ever happened. But I was gonna say I think it would be interesting to go in and look at the conversations and look at what people are saying. But at the same time, once you go in, you start somewhere out there's gonna be stored somewhere like, oh, this person right here, Roberto, kind of has an interest for groups like this, and all of a sudden I'm
What?
gonna start
But-
seeing all sorts of.
One of the things, the reasons that I avoid the echo chamber is because I follow and I go into groups like that. I follow all sorts of stuff. So Facebook suggests to me, my Facebook timeline is the most asymmetrical timeline you will ever see. It's like, here's this guns, pizza, and tits group we think you'd like. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, that's weird. And then it's like super leftists against super leftists against circumcision. I have been suggested both of those groups in the last week, and that is completely incongruous with each other. These are different groups of people, but it keeps you out of the echo chamber of only hearing one side of the story. Same thing on Twitter. Instagram's a little different though. It's a lot of strippers. I don't know why that might be. But
what were you gonna say?
while you were talking, it reminded me of so I was going to use the example of Kids. Have you guys seen Kids?
yeah, a long time ago. But
So-
Kids was the worst movie than this.
Yes.
Like
And I was going to say, Kids is a way worse movie than this. And the kids are around the same age, 12 and 13 years old. And they're having sex, and AIDS is involved. It's like a whole thing. But a more modern take, we talked about Good Boys, which I think is also in the same vein, although kind of nonsensical because it's.
I mean, the problem there is obviously it's a comedy.
Yeah.
But I
So-
mean, like 11-year-old boys were watching Good Boys, like, ha ha ha, this is the most hilarious thing ever. And
Yeah.
I would argue that was more
damaging to an 11-year-old.
problematic. I would have to explain a lot more about Good Boys than I would have to explain about Cuties, I think.
While you were talking, though, it reminded me of the Jonah Hill directed movie from 2018, mid-90s, which I don't know, that movie resonated with me so strongly because it was a 14-year-old kid in 95, which is right about the right time to be basically me. And he learns to skate so that he can make friends, which is basically Corey. But that whole story, I don't remember any controversy about that movie at all. That is essentially this. It's a kid who's like, well, I know nothing about sex, but I'm going to try to have sex with this girl because all my friends are saying that's what I'm supposed to do. Now, there was no social media because it was 1995, but it's the social media of your network of friends and the pressure that your friends put on you. And I don't know anything about sex, but I know that I'm going to go in the closet with this girl. And there's a scene in there where they do 7 minutes in heaven, and he goes in with the girl, and she's like, what are we supposed to do? And he's like, I don't know. I thought you would know what we're supposed to do in here. And she's like, I'm going to take my bra off and give it to you. That way you have it. And like,
Yeah, that's happened in a lot of movies,
Yeah.
though, where kids go into like a 7 minutes in heaven situation and they're just like, what happens now?
and that's I think like the fun, like in mid-90s is a comedy. It's more like a dramedy, I guess. It's not like Good Boys, which is clearly meant to be super bad for a new generation. It's like a funny comedy. But the
Super bad for younger kids.
yeah, essentially. Well, and I would argue though that it's not super bad for younger kids. It's super bad the same movie, except for the kids doing those antics have gotten younger. we think of it as a 15, 16, 17-year-old thing to have those antics. Kids today are like, no, 11 to 13. That's where we're pulling the.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking about it in terms of like actual porn or something like that.
Yeah.
Like when did I see that for the first time?
Oh, I was really one of the older kids in the neighborhood showed me a porn.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying like I was probably like 16 when I stumbled onto a magazine for the first time or something like that.
And we had
But
to
I'm
work
saying,
so
like-
hard for it too.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying like right now, like if a kid, you might say to yourself like, oh, my 8-year-old doesn't know better, but he could find it. Like there's no way that like it's easily accessible out there nowadays.
If you tell a kid about the movie Tron and he misspells it prawn, he is 100% going to get a porn website
Oh,
that
yeah,
pops up
yeah.
after that. And he's like, what did he say it was? Prawn? Okay, prawn.
Or if you don't even have safe search on Google or something like that.
Yeah.
You're typing in some name you were.
I took like a 4-mile walk back in the woods.
Who's this Lindsay Lohan person I hear? Oh my God.
Yeah. I took like a 4-mile walk back in the woods to a real sketchy fort to see a porn mag that I didn't even really want to see, but that they were like, we got this cool thing, let's go. Hey, somebody found a 1978 Playboy in their dad's garage or something like that.
Hey.
Yeah. But so like I know that we imagine it for as like older, but we have to come to the realization, and our parents, I think, still have not come to that realization that things change over time, and we get more liberal societies, and then we get to the point where all right, so everybody's aware like 69 Summer of Love and the early 70s were a very loose society. But after that, we got the 80s, which was the exact opposite. It's like, close everything down. We're going to get super conservative.
Yuppies and
The yuppies and the me generation. And so from 1982 onward, we start getting more and more liberal. And we've reached a point now where American society is essentially getting into that mid-60s vibe, burning a lot of stuff, a lot of civil rights marches. Thought we were done with that part of it. But eventually we'll get, and AIDS was really scary in the 90s as well. But, it's not a death sentence anymore. We know how to fight it, condom usage, etc. So there is the idea that eventually we are going to get back to that 70s Summer of Love stuff. And the kids who come after that will be like, my parents are putting white stones out in front of the house because that's a sign that when you come in for the party, you drop your keys in the bowl, and whatever keys the woman takes is the car you get in.
Talk to kids who were kids of parents in the Summer of Love.
Yeah, and do you know who those kids were? They were the 80s kids who were like, shut this down. We are super conservative. So eventually we'll cycle back to being conservative, and then we'll liberalize more and more and more. And it's really hard for my parents to be like, the kids these days. And then we are looking at these 11-year-olds and be like, kids these days.
But then you also think about like even the 80s when it was more conservative, like you still had people like Madonna who were like drastically pushing these boundaries that like people were just like, she's fucking naked on the street. Like,
well,
yeah, but
and in the 50s when everything was super conservative, you had Elvis Presley,
shaking his hips,
so it always is generational. So when things are conservative, liberals come out. But by the same token, in the Summer of Love, the 69 was the same year that that Green Beret song was written about, like God, it's in every patriotic commercial. You'll hear this song. Lee Greenwood song,
Proud to be American.
Was 1969 as well. So it's like there are always two halves of it, where it's like, Madonna was pushing boundaries against conservatism, and then Lee Greenwood was pulling back against liberalism and trying to get everybody to wrap things up again. So there's always that, and no matter what, every generation thinks the one that came after them is pushing
the wildest bunch.
You're so wild. And then there will eventually be one that's like, come on kids, why are you being so square? And it's like, because there's a strange woman in my house every Saturday morning and I don't like it. I want one woman my whole life. That's it. I'm gonna marry her.
I
right
want
out of high school.
mommy. I just want mommy.
Anyway, but so we cycle through. So I mean, not that this is part of that. We also have no idea what, again, social media is going to do about this cycle of. We didn't have that. It was literally just everyone around you seemed like music changes, and
it's just it's so different every generation. So it's hard to make direct comparisons.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I really don't. This movie is not. If I saw somebody saying like, like Cuties is child porn, I'm just like,
No.
It is not. It's not like, if you can't There was a club Extremes or something like that when I was in Towson. It was an underage club.
Yeah, no, it's an under 21 club.
It was an under 21 club, but they were letting kids who were like 14 or 15 in it.
Okay, so
You could only buy like Cokes and stuff like that there.
Yeah.
But it was like a dance club for kids.
I was gonna say, did you ever go to Ocean City and go to Club H2O?
No, but I know of it. Yeah.
Okay, so there were two clubs across the street from each other, and it was always the big summer was the one where you went from Club H2O, which was 21 and under, and they would let in 13, 12-year-olds, all the way up to 21. 21-year-olds couldn't go
and like
in.
secrets, right?
Yeah, no, and then right across the street was. I never went in it, so I don't even know what it is because I bailed out of that lifestyle before that. But then it was like the one across the street was owned by the same people, similarly themed, but it served alcohol and it was 21 and over.
Right.
And if you were 23, you couldn't go into H2O. You could only go into the other one. And it was a big deal. So is that just a Maryland thing?
I don't know. I think there were
clubs?
underage clubs elsewhere, but I mean, like,
There's
I just think
clubs. There's clubs that had, like in Arizona, there were clubs that had under 21 nights.
And yeah, you got like the X on it. I just think underage is weird because it makes it sound like they let in underage people. This was four
kids
under 21 clubs.
Well, yeah, it was like, like
Dance
there's a
Bill
lot of high
Barney
school
song.
kids who would like to go and have like a club-like experience, but they can't go to the club.
Right.
So how do you give them the
See, but then how
experience
is
of
it
being at
not-
the club without like
You charge them $9 for a Coke.
See, but
and
yeah,
$20 for your
$20 for cover.
How is this not kind of the same thing? Like we're offering little kids the experience of a grown-up so that they can feel more like grown-ups.
And that's exactly the thing. Like I remember going to H2O when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school, and there were girls dancing just like these girls in Cuties are dancing, grinding up on people, on me, thank God. And I was way more attractive when I was that old.
You were also age appropriate at that time.
Yeah, and I mean I was 14, so a 14-year-old girl dancing with me is age appropriate. That's my point. But my overall arching point here is that it's not something new, but because social media is feeding these stories into a cycle, people are forgetting this Hausfrau, by the way, was a 14-year-old girl grinding on me at a school dance.
Well,
she forgets that at 14 she was grinding on me at a school dance.
We also, I think people also like as they get older, they start thinking about like these kids are getting wilder, younger. But
Yeah.
like
You're getting conservative. It's
when
not
was
them.
like something I was thinking about throughout this is like, like I feel like I had my first sexualized ideals really young.
Oh, yeah.
Like I didn't know what sex was. I didn't know how it worked, but like I knew that like kissing was involved somehow.
Yeah, when we're
like,
grinding,
there was,
I
like-
didn't know that this was sex related. I'm
Yeah.
just like, I see it on a movie, and I'm like, all right, you're gonna bend over in front of me, and I'm gonna.
I like
get
this
behind
is this
you.
is enjoyable. I don't know why I enjoy it, but
I
something
like the
about it.
contact of a woman. That's
Yeah.
very or a girl. That's very nice. But I didn't realize until like you're 17, and you're like, oh, this is like grinding.
Oh, that's why it happened.
That's why you. All right.
Did before we end here, is there
Yeah.
any other comments from the chat that we needed to?
No, unfortunately, we've gone so long now that I think everyone has
Bailed
had
out.
to
on
go
us.
do some stuff. But Flash did comment again, talking about the sexualization of children. Of children, 14-year-old, her 14-year-old has a project where they pretend they're pregnant, and they have they learned about birth control? No. And this was another argument that was made by the Hausfrau in my conversation, was like, they don't even do abstinence-only education in schools anymore. And I was like, yeah, but that's because studies show abstinence only doesn't work. Like, you teach abstinence as the only thing that's 100% certain is abstinence. Now, if you choose to have sex, which you may choose to do, here are ways to do it safely. And she also was very upset about my point about masks and COVID being the same way. I'm like, the only thing that's 100% certain is for you to lock yourself in your apartment and never leave and never have contact with anybody. That was 100% certain you won't get it. But much like a condom, a mask is a barrier that when we go out and risk
That provides 99% under best case scenario.
on the best case scenarios, it'll protect you, and we hope for the best. But much like the example I've used recently in conversations that we've had, when you go out and you have risky behavior, you have to worry about not only those people, but the people that those people have been with, and the people that those people have been with. Because COVID's a lot like an STD, only spread orally. Some
Aral-
STDs.
aerosol.
Yeah, droplet,
Yeah.
and through the air. But just this idea that we're going to teach. I think what Flash is saying here is that her 14-year-old has a project where it's like, all right, we're going to match you up in pairs. Now, I think she's still in Massachusetts, which means I'm guarantee you they get to pick partners. So it's like, hey, boy, girl, boy, girl, 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 boy, boy. Hey, one of you guys is going to be pregnant. Let's just pretend that we're able to do that. But they're liberal enough to say it doesn't have to be heterosexual pairs always. But she's has a project where she's pregnant, but they don't learn about birth control. And maybe that's because I'm trying to jump into Flash.
Maybe they're trying to give them the torture of it first, and then just being like, "Hey, you don't like that?
Sucks.
Birth control's
yes, birth control's the answer. Let's teach you about birth control." But it's just that we're sexualizing kids, but we don't give them the tools to do it safely. So again, kind of what you were saying.
We shouldn't have to give them tools at all.
What do you mean?
I'm saying we shouldn't have to get to a point where it's like, oh, well, we're already over sexualizing them. Let's just give them the tools. You know what I'm saying?
But
I think you're reading tools as the means to have sex.
I
We're
know.
talking about tools and the means of telling them what safe sex is or what sex is.
And protecting themselves. I mean, and more generally, not just sex itself, but like, listen, when we watch, ABC on a Saturday night or what's a better, because Saturday night's actually a dead night on TV, like a Tuesday night, you're going to see at 8 p.m. a show where there's going to be a woman who may be scantily clad, having
a hooker,
playing a hooker, right? I want to, at 10 or 12, I have to have an uncomfortable conversation with my children about how this is what that is. And yes, you see sex on TV, you see sex in movies, but what we're doing is we either have to say as a society, we're going to go the route of, the caliphate countries and say, no alcohol, no sex, nothing on TV that promotes sex. We're going to shut this whole thing down. Or we have to say the other way. We have to have uncomfortable conversations with our kids and say, hey, this is a thing you might see out there, but this is the context for the thing that you see out there. And I don't know if one or the other is the better way. I mean, I would lean towards the other. But
yeah.
The tools, meaning I'm going to give you context for the things. You may go and have sex. I am going to encourage you greatly to wait. And I know that 15-year-old boy or girl seems like they are the whole world. But maybe I'll relate to you the fact that the person I dated when I was 15, we fell out 2 months later. And then there was someone else for 2 months and someone else for 2 months. But it feels like a lot.
And even when I was like, 25,
engaged for 3 years.
25, and I was like, oh, now I know. I'm never gonna fucking. This is love. Like,
Didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't know. So giving them the tools and just saying, if you choose to do it anyway, here's how you can be safe about it. And when you see someone on a music video, they're focusing just on the ass of some girl, you can look at your daughter and say, listen, all bodies are different, and this person likes this particular look, but there are people out there who will like you exactly as you are.
Yeah.
More importantly, you are more than that. She is more than that, and you are more than that. And you can be just as big of a part of society if you cure cancer as you are being Miss America. And you know what? If you don't do any of that, if you're just you and
that's fine too.
You have a fine life and you love me until I'm gone and I'll love you until you're gone, that is absolutely fine too. And building a stronger society by saying we don't have to all be that. By the way, we also don't have to cure cancer. Not you, Maxine. If you're seeing this in the future, you absolutely need to cure cancer. You're too smart to waste all that. But giving them tools to function and hopefully making them not be so reactionary that my daughter sees a poster for a movie and says, no, absolutely not. I'll never watch it. I'm hoping the next generation will look at stuff like this and say, all right, I'm going to try
Let me examine this a little bit.
There's something about this, but I'm going to watch it and see what it's about.
Think critically.
Yeah.
And that, again, I just made myself think of that. But that's the problem, is that too many people in, especially our generation, don't think critically. They see that, they react, and now I'm done with this thought process. I'm on to the next thing. This is bad. This makes me feel weird. It's bad. I'm on to the next thing. And I'm hoping that as people have watched this, as maybe they find it later, that they will, as we have tried to do, critically think about it. Let's actually watch it and see what it is and not just react emotionally and then break it down into what its substantive parts are and try to move forward from there.
Real quick, just so that we can wrap it up.
That's exactly what I was trying to do. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that did your perception of the movie for each one of us, your perception from before you watched it to after you were done watching it, did it change or shift in any way?
Yeah, I wish there was no controversy, and I hadn't seen all the controversy about it. Because I think what Corey said earlier was apt, that I was kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop the entire time. I'm like, there has to be something else here that I'm not seeing, and I don't think I got to enjoy it as much as I would have, because I was almost over critically thinking it. I'm like,
if I literally just walked into a theater at the Sundance Film Festival and saw this, I would walk out. I don't know if I'd say like, oh, this is a fantastic movie, everyone has to see it.
Yeah.
I probably, like I enjoyed this movie greatly, but I don't know if it's like, a movie of the year or anything like that. But like, if somebody said, what did you think? I'd say it was good. You should see it. I wouldn't have even thought to mention anything about like, oh, you gotta be careful if you're hypersexual around little girl. Like I wouldn't even think about it. But watching it under the pretense that there is some sort of controversy involved makes me think that like, okay, I'm watching this and it doesn't seem so bad right now. Is there something coming around the corner that makes me like, this is all of a sudden like,
that all of a sudden it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
what? And you know why it's on
and much like the scene, like we talked about, she zipped down the shirt. Like I was like,
oh God,
is this what this movie was all?
no. And if you saw it raw, that you would still have a moment there where she does that, and you're like, oh baby, no.
Yeah.
But it's not the same context in your head of like, here it is. Here's the thing.
Yeah,
This is what they're talking
here's
about.
the problem. Here's what
Like we've been defending this movie for a week, and now, oh crap, here it comes. But the reason it's on Netflix is because if I walked into Sundance as a buyer for Netflix or Hulu or HBO Max or any of those people, I'd have walked out and said, this is a 4-corner movie. We need to buy this.
I wouldn't say that, but I would say
Or 4-quadrant movie, not 4-square movie.
yeah,
4-quadrant.
I wouldn't say that either, but like cuz I don't think like the elderly would enjoy this movie as much.
Four Corners is 25 and younger of both genders. 25 and younger, 25 and older of both genders. Does it appeal to any part of those demographics?
Yeah.
And I think it appeals to both men and women, both 25 and over and 25 and under. And for like Netflix or HBO Max, where you're like, we just need something that appeals to a wide variety.
Okay, so I mean, like it's one of the. I think that anyone who can watch a movie, a drama artistically, would be fine watching this movie. Like I don't think that.
Yeah. And I honestly would walk out of this and say the marketing for this is going to be great. It's about a coming of age story about a girl who is caught between two worlds.
Yeah.
She has a very fundamentalist,
two very clashing worlds.
Yeah, very fundamentalist a world at home and a very liberal world that she's kind of living in, and she has to try to make peace between the two. That's not. I mean, and honestly, I think the marketing did that.
I mean, if I were to, in my mind, if I were to redesign the poster or something like that, I would think about it just in terms of maybe like a split between like half of her in her traditional Muslim garb and half of her in
that dance costume.
And maybe you do like a cowboy shot or something like that of it.
Yeah.
To show, like a direct line between like a midriff a little bit. Yeah. But I don't. I think the way they did it is designed to get more eyes than what I did. Like I don't know how many more people click on that image than they would the 4 girls in a clearly dancing, suggestive.
The fact that you thought of it makes me sure that it would get less clicks. Because if you thought of it, that meant somebody at Netflix did.
Yeah.
And it was in the documents, and they tested it, and they said, okay, we tested it against this split one, and this one did better, so this is one we're going to go with.
Yeah.
And everyone assumes insidious intent. It almost never is. It's always just like, no, we tested 4,000. This is the one that got the most clicks. This is what we're going to put out.
Yeah, because nobody in Netflix is just going like, oh man, this will get us in a lot of trouble. Like
Will, the secret perv, who's like, I got to send a message out to all my fellow pedophiles out there.
Yeah, if you want to
put this cover on it.
If you want to talk about secret perv shit, go on and watch any of these old Disney movies. Like,
yeah,
more secret perv shit going on in that.
Wait, are you telling me there's something pervy about walking up to a girl who is unconscious in the woods and then just kissing her because she is there?
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, That more lines have been crossed in Snow White than have been.
Then we're crossing cuties.
Yeah.
Yes, that is 100% true. So thank you guys for joining us for our talk about this. If you enjoyed it, let us know. Leave a comment wherever you are. Leave a like. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. It's O The Anthem on Twitter, O The Anthem on Twitch, O The Anthem on Facebook, and on YouTube. We do a weekly podcast every single week. We record generally Mondays, and the episode will be out on Tuesdays. We talk about news and politics and sports and whatever's going on in the world, basically the top stories. So if you like our banter here, you're going to like our banter on that show. So make sure you join us for any of those. If you especially like this, let us know. You can send an email to Corey@otheanthem.com. You can always reach out to us at otheanthem.com, just the website. You'll find more information there as well. But we're happy to do more of these kind of talks about movies, and we'll figure out what movie we might want to do now that we've kind of worked out the electronics of it all.
Yeah.
It'll get bigger and better from here.
Bigger
so.
and better
yeah.
from here. But of course, the O The Anthem podcast every week, you're just going to unfortunately have to deal with Corey and I. Roberto is generally, that's his Red Dead Redemption time. But where can people find your streaming of Red Dead Redemption and everything else?
Well, all my social medias are the same, thanks to someone who. Yes, you're welcome. They can find me on all my social medias are at RTOAZN. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Pretty
Twitch.
much. Yeah, Twitch, TikTok, all those. And yeah, sometimes I'm part of a podcast too. If we're doing like a special episode, the guys will bring me in, or if they just need Mexican eyes to look, just like all of a sudden you get like 10 people watching, and that's my entire family back in Mexico. So
He's our diversity hire.
yeah.
But yeah, and of course you can find more of me at Robert Enchik on all social networks. Make sure you check out robertenchik.com for more of my stuff individually.
CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/Corey Baker Film, and @LegendsCP5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for as long as that's allowed to be allowed.
Yeah, until Sunday at least.
until
I guess we'll see.
Well, we'll still be able to use it. We just won't be able to update it
Right,
ever.
yeah.
So.
The problem is Monday I'm gonna come up with like a fucking great TikTok.
Yeah, and then everybody will
Just
stop
be like,
using
why aren't we here?
it. All right, guys. So yeah, thank you for joining us. We'll be around next time, but make sure you subscribe to the channel for new videos. Have a great afternoon.
Peace.